Okay, so hello there, this is the racing tips video that has been requested on this channel. This is one of my friends, MBD Most Wanted, who I race with quite often on this game. He's going to be helping me out with this. I've set this to 6 laps, and I'm going to go through different things on each lap. So to start with, on the first lap, as ridiculous as it's going to look in a minute, we are both going to drive really badly on purpose. Now, it does seem a bit pointless, but we're doing this to show some common problems that might happen during a race, whether it's trying to pass someone, hitting them, taking them out, hitting a fence, hitting a post, hitting a barrier, whatever it is. So as you'll see in this lap, we are absolutely dreadful. So I hit this lamppost here, I just totally screwed up my entry. I end up blocking Most Wanted off, so he can't even get through into the next bit. And then we head to this hairpin, and he tries to pass me on the inside here, and it all goes horribly wrong. So that's definitely something you shouldn't do. Then I end up hitting this post, and then he hits the post as well. It's all just going wrong, and let's see what happens here. A massive drift out of the corner, totally screw that up, turning too early here, so I end up hitting the barrier. Yeah, it just goes on really, so nearly do it there, make a correction, and end up hitting the barrier instead. And then Most Wanted goes and hits the fire hydrant. I nearly end up hitting the barrier there because I haven't got a very good line through that chicane. Don't worry about all this for now, we're going to be covering all this in a minute. Yeah, this section, I don't do a very good job of that either. Most Wanted gets past, but then I decide to be an idiot and try and pass him, which only cost me because this happens. Yeah, so then we end up going side by side on this section. That's not too bad, but it's a little bit rough, and then I go and blatantly do this because that's what nice players do on this game. And then yeah, so as you can see, generally this lap so far I've been making an absolute balls of every single corner. It is deliberate, not really trying at all, or at least that's what you're probably hoping at this stage. Yeah, and then I do that and that blocks him off again. So yeah, it's like I say, the point of this lap is just to show you, you know, maybe you spot some of the things. Obviously, nobody's going to drive this badly because that you'd have to pretty much do it intentionally, like we are, to end up being this bad. But if any of the individual problems that you're seeing happen during this lap, whether it's not turning in very well, maybe not being able to pass very effectively without a bit of contact, getting stuck like this, any of these problems, if you see any of this, then it might be worth continuing to watch this video just to see maybe if we'd be able to help with any of it, because, you know, as sad as we are, we race on here quite a lot. We're sort of a couple of car freaks. We like our racing lines and our different types of cars and all this sort of thing. So you're looking at the right two really sad people to help with this sort of thing. So this is the video for you. That's what you want. So on the next lap, on lap 2, we're going to be looking at the following things. So the apex of a corner. So briefly, what the apex means is that you are trying to make the line through the corner as straight as possible to keep the highest speed up. So you'll notice a lot of the lines through the corners that I've been getting are not very good. And to get the best line through the corner, you should go to the outside of the corner first, then come to the inside, and then go back to the outside again. And that makes the line through the corner, even though it is still curved, it makes that line straight. And it's a visual thing. You could actually draw this and see what the corner would look like if you took it in that way, as opposed to going to the inside and then having a really sharp turn where you have to slow your car down a lot more. So you see here, I go to the outside, cut to the inside, smoothly back round. And I maintain a slightly higher speed by doing that. And I try and do that everywhere. So outside first here, go to the outside, cut back to the inside, and then back to the outside again, same here. Miss the apex a bit there. The apex, people refer to the apex as being the sort of centre point that you need to clip on the inside of the turn. So some people would say that I just missed the apex slightly because I didn't quite come to the outside. Not to the outside, the inside, sorry. So what I'm going to do now, and it will probably take quite a while, but hey ho, I'm going to run back over there, and I'm going to view from the side of the track what it looks like to see Most Wanted taking the apex correctly. because it's difficult when you drive in the car. You can't always see properly what you're doing. You know, you've got no external view as such. So doing it this way, it might be easier to see Most Wanted taking this corner in a bit. So I'll just wait for him to get round this hairpin, and soon he'll be coming round this set of corners. We'll see him round this corner, and what you'll see is his blue ruiner just getting very close to the inside of the corner, very near to those red and white barriers, and then coming back towards the outside towards me, and then it'll carry on smoothly. So here he is, clips the inside and then back towards this side, and that's what you want to try and aim for. And when he approaches the next corner, he goes to the outside. This is the point in the middle of the corner where he would be, and then he would continue. He would follow the inside like he is doing now, and then back to the outside. He gets a smooth line through that chicane. He doesn't go too fast into it, and that allows him to get through there quickly without hitting the red and white barriers. So that's the sort of best line through the corner, and that's one of the most important things in this video. It will help tremendously. So hopefully that'll be of some use. The next thing we'll be going on to shortly is braking points. Now, it might seem fairly obvious. Obviously, if you don't brake in time, you are going to either fly off the track or hit someone or hit something. But sometimes it's not catastrophic. Sometimes it's just braking very slightly too late, and it can cost you heavily. Sometimes you might want to brake slightly later on purpose to what you would usually see as your normal racing line, and that might be because if you're on the inside of someone coming up to a corner, if you brake later, you can sort of out-brake them and block them off. It's not dirty, but it's just defending your line, if you like, without hitting them, and that'll sort of keep you in front. So I'm just going to wait for Most Wanted to come round like he's doing now, and we're going to take these few sort of corners and then get back onto the straight, and then we'll demonstrate what we mean by this braking point. So what happens on this lap, and at this point some of these things are deliberate, you know, it's not too false, you can sort of tell, but I try and get the best braking point for turning in on the end of the straight. Meanwhile, Most Wanted brakes very slightly too late and ends up just catching the barrier. So it's not a major error, but it's still enough to mean that he doesn't get a good line through the corner. So, I mean, I brake late there, you can see I don't get anywhere near those tyres, and it's a wide line, it slows me down. So, yeah, this is the straight I was talking about. So coming to the end of here, I'm going to brake very shortly. Just getting to the inside, and it's a smooth line, so I've braked in time. Meanwhile, watching this ruiner come down here, just fractionally too late, and it goes into the barrier. He didn't brake much later than I did, but it was just enough to mean that he didn't stop in time. And also, you'll notice he clipped the curb in the middle of the road, which sort of sends the car up in the air temporarily, and whilst the wheels aren't touching the ground, you can't brake, so that actually prevented him from braking. So that's another tip to bear in mind. Don't try to avoid the sort of curbs and the pavements, because they'll unsettle your car a bit, so you'll either go sliding around a corner or you'll not be able to brake coming up to a corner. So that's what we dealt with on lap 2. So apex, braking points, and avoiding curbs. So lap 3, we're going to look at overtaking, panning the camera round to get a better view of the corner coming up. It is a bit pointless and it is difficult to do whilst you're driving, but once you're used to doing these things, it might be something you find doing naturally. That was a bit of a mistake. That's something to point out with overtaking. He made a good move on me there, carrying a lot of speed down the inside, but it's not just about getting past, it's about making it stick afterwards. And because he was carrying so much speed without thinking ahead, he ended up going straight into that barrier, and his ruiner just went flying over the barrier. Now, that wasn't actually intentional, but we left it in because it shows what can happen, you know. I mean, we both cock things up regularly, as you'll see from both of us towards the end of this video. So, yeah, you know, just put that one out there because everyone does it, but using some of these things, it might be possible to avoid them. So yeah, what's going to happen here? I make a bit of a mistake. Now, Most Wanted could have attempted to pass me early, and you can see he's right behind me, he's right there, he's just hounding me at the moment. But he waits for his opportunity, he goes around the outside, holds his line, doesn't hit me, and has a really good overtake there, right on the inside, waiting for his opportunity. Now, he had a chance to try and pass earlier, but had he done, he would have taken himself out, and he would have also taken me out. So it wasn't worth it. Now I'm just biding my time here, and I get a really good exit from that corner, and I'm back on the inside of him. So someone might pass you, but you're just going to wait and look ahead for the next 2 or 3 corners, and the opportunity will arise. Now what happens here is, I think, yeah, I end up going a little bit wide, and he's right behind me. But there's no opportunity to pass here. You don't go for silly moves, you know, because obviously he ended up hitting me. I made a mistake, and then he went straight into the back of me. So what would be wise for him to do now at this point would be to wait for an opportunity here. So obviously I made a big mistake there. That's another thing to point out. Another thing on this lap I'm going to be talking about, smooth turning and traction. You can see I'm sort of really flicking, well, if I'm talking about it in terms of the controller, I'm sort of flicking the analog stick to one side. I'm flicking it bit by bit, and it's returning to the centre, and I'm flicking it again. You see the car just, you know, skewing about. It's no good. If you turn into a corner like that, it's going to make you really unstable. You want to push the analog stick very slowly to one side like this to get smooth turning. You can see my wheels at the front of the car just turning gradually. This sounds really obsessive, but it makes a big difference if you can do it. So that's something worth bearing in mind. Also, traction through corners. Half press. Just give a bit of a half press on the triggers, so you don't put full power on. And you'll notice it just eases out corners like this. Every time up to now through that particular corner, I have put R2 down fully, and it's just drifted straight out of the corner because there's too much power. But if you half press it and then gradually push it further down as you're leaving the corner, you haven't got too much power straight away, but then you don't lose traction. You keep the traction, because that's what traction's about. It's about enough power to get you out of the corner, but not so much that the wheels can't handle it. So just half press it initially and then put full power on once you're safely out of the corner. So what we've done now, right, got into the pits and we've swapped cars. The reason I've done this isn't just for the sake of doing it. It's worth pointing out, different cars will drive differently, and the tips aren't going to apply in the same way to all cars. Now this Ruiner that I've swapped with Most Wanted, he's driving my Dominator now, and I'm driving his Ruiner. You can see it's so much easier to turn in with this Ruiner. It turns in so much more sharply, and it's so much more stable. I'm not having to half press out of corners at all. The traction on this car is fantastic. That wasn't fantastic, but that was my mistake. So yeah, you can just see it's so well balanced through these turns. Now on the straights, it doesn't have the power of the Dominator, but that's the thing about these cars. You've got to pick one that suits you. If you prefer a car that allows you to pass people and take advantage on the straights like this, then go with the Dominator. But if you want one on these sections, which is nice and tight and it turns well through these sorts of corners, then a car like this is for you, and it's an easier car to drive, to be honest, the Ruiner. If you can drive the Dominator well enough, the Dominator can win, but there really is not that much to choose between them. I have both. I actually bought a Ruiner the other day. Mine's lava red with a nice black stripe on it, but you know, as irrelevant as that is, I bought one because for certain tracks like this, I thought it was better. I thought it was just much better balanced, and on other races where it's just straights, you go with the Dominator every time, because otherwise you've got a massive disadvantage. But if it's something like this, a car like this, or the Gauntlet, or the Blade even though it's got a little bit of understeer, any of those three will probably benefit you more easily than the Dominator. The Dominator is a struggle around this sort of track. Okay, so on that lap, we just looked at driving each other's cars. You can see the difference in the way they drive. This one has a much better turning circle. It'd be better if it had a better driver, because I'm making a bit of a balls of some of the corners, but you can just see the difference. So on the straights, not as powerful, but everywhere else it just has an edge. So what we're going to do now is swap over cars again, and a nice cheeky little hit up the anus from Most Wanted there, probably because he missed his Ruiner, I'm guessing. But yeah, so we're swapping back over, and we're just going to have a little bit of a battle. So we're going to start off from here, from a standstill, boost off of the line, and just demonstrate some of what we've been talking about. So all of the things that we've talked about so far. So the apex of the corner, outside to the inside, smoothly back to the outside again. Braking points, avoiding curbs, panning the camera around the corner like this, so moving the right stick, sorry, so you can get a better view of the corner, and again there. So overtaking properly, wait for that opportunity. I mean, you can see we're trying much harder on this lap now, and look at the difference from the first lap. Obviously the first lap was deliberately poor, but look at just all those different things pieced together. Slipstreaming there, I come behind him, I take advantage of his slipstream and make my move there. And in a minute he'll be able to make a move on me, but just all of these things, they all come together and you can make a really good lap. So I'm hoping this video's helped. Any other further comments, please let me know. it was a video that was requested. I've been planning on doing it for a while, and it's just little things like this, and it makes